Hello again.
Hello.
Guess who's back?
It's nice to be back after a little hiatus.
Hope everybody's having a somewhat enjoyable month of horror. Can't really go out much these days, but we can still enjoy the movies.
Yep, excellent way to socially distance.
And today we're going to be reviewing the early 90s horror comedy, Stay Tuned.
Don't miss an all-new episode of The Silencer of the Lambs. Well, time to rock and roll. Don't miss this comedy from hell.
It's right up my alley. This is when I was in high school, so a lot of prime cultural references during this film.
Looks and feels natural, whether you're skimming the surf at 30 knots or racing the wind on a cruiser for 2.
And remember, we stand behind it.
It's a classic
By the way,
commercial.
I'm not only the heckler president.
Stay Tuned is a little-known, now kind of cult classic movie starring John Ritter and Pam Dawber, TV stars of their own time. Ritter from Three's Company and Dawber from Mork and Mindy.
I just love your uncle. He's so full of charm and personality.
Well, I guess it runs in the family.
Oh, really? Wow, who else has got it?
I think that we better keep where you come from a secret. I hate to admit this, but people here on Earth get pretty hassled over anything they don't understand.
John Ritter plays Roy Nabel, a plumbing supply salesman. And his wife, Helen, played by Pam Dawber, an executive for a vitamin company. Their marriage is not in a great place. She's doing well, he's not, and he's more into watching TV than spending time with her.
Bill Cosby, Alan Thicke, the Father on the Brady Bunch. My dad watched all of them.
But if this was real, there'd be some barbs flying right now.
There was no note of pity in your ridicule of me just now. I know you still love me.
And then one day, a mysterious salesman shows up named Spike, played by everybody's favorite 80s character actor turned registered sex offender, Jeffrey Jones.
Escape from all your failures and woes at the touch of your thumb. This. Your new controller. Your
Come on
passport to
in.
the ultimate television adventure.
He offers Roy a new TV and satellite dish, which 90s, big deal.
Unlimited entertainment snatched from the ether and slammed into your brand new 44-inch, 900-line resolution, 3-way expanded
that was
matrix
big.
Dolby stereo TV right here, Roy.
The twist is, after blindly signing a contract, Roy has unknowingly signed his soul over to the devil. And before they know it, both Roy and Helen end up sucked into their satellite dish.
Fasten your seatbelts, folks. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Where they're told that they will spend 24 hours in these satanic versions / parodies of TV and movies of the time. Each one is designed to kill them, but if they can somehow manage to get out of it alive by 24 hours, they can go home. But if they die, they're stuck in TV hell forever.
Because I'm sure that Satan would be very interested in bad TV.
You're on.
Statistic hidden videos? I'm on TV. Oh, guys.
I don't know.
Oh, good night, sweetheart.
Wednesdays at 9. 3 Men and Rosemary's Baby.
I'm looking for something that'll break through, you know, something tough.
This is an interesting movie. It was directed by Peter Hyams, who's filmed Sudden Death we reviewed last year. And Peter Hyams has had a pretty mixed filmography. Some of his movies are reasonably good, some not so good, but he's made a lot of cult classics.
And I think there were very good elements of this movie, and there were some not so good elements of this movie.
I mean, you can cool your heels in here for the rest of eternity, if You kissed the right ass. And let me tell you, these lips ain't calloused for nothing. Some kind of comedian?
There's a lot in Stay Tuned that I enjoy and a lot I don't. The main thing being, this movie has a pretty inconsistent pace throughout. The transitioning between the channel hopping isn't the best, and also the characters of Roy and Helen, like there are some real funny bits, and Ritter and Dawber, they always do the best they can, but I don't feel like these characters had a lot of, character or character development. For the most part, they feel kind of wooden throughout.
Although I think they were probably two of the better characters. I think another weakness of the film was some of its supporting cast.
Yeah.
I think that was a little thin.
The kids were pretty annoying.
Yep.
They're another example of kid characters written by someone who probably has no idea how kids talk and act.
I don't think they said one genuine line throughout the entire film.
What are you doing? Did you see that? That dish, it ain't my BMX. Is this some kind of male puberty thing?
And it's actually the son who's supposed to be this high-tech genius nerd who also likes to spy on his sister making out with her boyfriend.
Daryl Mabel has just won the Nobel Prize for electronic surveillance for secretly videotaping his sister Diane French kissing with her boyfriend Chris. We're talking tongues here. For copies of this tape, send $3 to Daryl Mabel, 1532 Luhtjarv.
Yeah, that's what all normal kids do. Who figures out that their parents are trapped in the TV world, and the sister, until she finds out what's going on around the halfway point, all she really does is act bitchy and mean to her brother, but maybe she has reason to. And the son, who figured out how to hack TV signals earlier, he uses his knowledge of this technology to find a way to help his parents.
That looks like Mom. It is Mom! That's what I've been trying to tell you!
They jump into figuring out what's going on pretty fast.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a stretch.
Obviously, we're dealing with something of supernatural nature here, Diane. This thing, it did not come from Radio Shack.
I hate kids.
Also in the supporting cast is Eugene Levy as a worker in the Hell TV network, and
Our official scoreboard keeps track of the SBI's souls batted in.
Eugene Levy, he's an actor who I've never really been that fond of. Like, I know everybody knows him for American Pie and whatnot, but whenever I see him in a movie, it always feels like he's kind of doing the same thing. Playing kind of a smarmy goofball. And here, the joke is, he's a guy who thinks he's funny, but he's really not. But after a while, it just got kind of annoying as shit.
Yeah, I think it was also kind of a weaker performance.
Let me tell you, if we ever cross channels again,
And I know this might rub some people the wrong way, but the character and actor that I kind of enjoyed the best in this movie was Spike, played by Jeffrey Jones. I mean, say what you will about him as a person, but Jeffrey Jones was a really good actor, and he could really play a good villain.
Spike, at your service.
Well,
The Spike character, of every character, even on the bad guy's side, I thought he had the most personality in the film.
I think he's the only thing that really sold the hell aspect of it.
I belong in here with you. Screw up in here and you're dead meat. Dead meat.
I love the remote in the sleeve. And next to the kind of inconsistent pace, which you said you thought went by really fast throughout most of it.
Well, especially when they were timing it. During the 24 hours, it seemed like everything was just flying by. You'd have 10 seconds in real life, and it was 10 minutes in their 24-hour sentence.
Or like several hours just suddenly zoom by, and you wonder, were they just sitting there that whole time?
Yeah, and then after the fact, I mean, then it kind of just slowed down.
What's happening? Who's messing with my programming?
And then when we got to the ending, as you said, things just really took a slow pace so we could get all the final action in there.
And I don't really necessarily agree with the fact that they had the ending, because I think if they had just timed out the 24 hours and had more of the segments, I didn't see why they had to have the whole angle with the wife and the contract, but...
That'll save her.
Peter Hyams, he said that what drew him to the film was that it felt like a series of short films. I can kind of see that, but at the same time, I feel like that kind of hurts the film a little. For the most part, it doesn't feel like there's a clear or even structure or narrative going on.
Yeah, I agree, although I do think the individual short films themselves were probably some of the strongest elements of this film. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where it's some of the stronger pieces, I think, that attract you to the movie, whereas at the same time I think it's an element that hurt the flow. And I imagine it must have been very difficult to direct because each of those different styles requires a different skill set. And all of the costuming and set for those mini films, it must have been very difficult to do.
Which dress works better for you, the red one or the green one?
Which one is the red one?
What do you mean?
I mean, I can't see the difference. I'm colorblind.
My favorite of the segments, I think, were the wrestling one.
Oh, yeah, that was good.
The ring announcer is played by Lou Albano.
Bano, yeah. He used to tie up his beard with a rubber band.
And the animation segment, which has a few fun parts, but like they jump into what looks like a demonic Tom and Jerry cartoon.
We're cartoons. Boy, this is strange.
Strange? I'm an animated rodent wearing high-heeled running shoes. The word strange is somehow lacking.
The animation was supervised by Tom and Jerry animator himself, Chuck Jones.
Right. Donuts will be the death of me.
I think that's probably the strongest for me, the strongest of the short films, the cartoon. I really got absorbed by that. I guess it's another good and bad about the movie. You almost forget that you're watching the movie when you're watching the cartoon.
Yeah.
So you could definitely feel that was professionally done and it was truthful to that genre.
They actually spent 6 months working on that part before they even filmed the live action segments.
Oh.
And yeah, you could tell a lot of work went into it. Although I think the some of the gags, like the pauses that they do before they scram or something happens, that doesn't really feel like something you'd see in a cartoon. Like everything's very fast and all over the place.
What? For a mouse, you look pretty sexy.
Too bad you didn't like the way I looked when I was human.
Even in the 90s, they had furries.
Used to me.
I like that one. I like the Wayne's World and then the Western, I suppose.
The Dwayne's Underworld was hilarious, and
Dwayne's Underworld. Dwayne's Underworld. It's party time!
the guys they got did really good impressions of Mike Myers and Dana Carvey.
Father of Lies. I'm your excrement host, Dwayne. And with me, as always, is my only slightly decaying co-host, Garth. Whipped out! Party early, Garth. Party curly. Okay, alright.
In fact, they offered Myers and Carvey to come in and parody their characters, but they were busy filming the actual Wayne's World movie. But nonetheless, the guys they got did such a good impression, you'd swear it was actually them.
Yeah.
Would you mind telling me what you see on this card? I worship satin. Excrement.
And I can't even remember all of the short film segments, but those were the ones that stood out the most.
Some of the mini ones, like the fake promos, were really good, like the Max Hell parody of Maxell. My favorite, I think, would be maybe The Exorcist.
Feel it first. Good stories. Ready, go. Very good. Very nice. I like it.
Something that the movie got a bit of criticism for was, like, this is a PG movie, and honestly, this feels more like a PG-13.
Well, I mean, it was a little, I think the standard was a little bit different in the 80s and 90s. I mean, if you go back and watch the early Back to the Future movies,
but this
it's a shockingly PG rating there.
Holy shit!
Yeah, but this came out when the PG-13 was around.
Yeah.
So I would think with like some of the swearing, darker elements.
I think the darker elements themselves probably would have merited it in the theme.
One of the criticisms was they feel like it's too dark for little kids, but it's not grim enough for adults.
I think probably it shows you that a lot of the rating system is tied to obscenity, and there wasn't much foul language. And it kind of shows kind of how a little bit ridiculous the rating system is, even. That it's so tied to just one mention of this. You can have one of these, but not two, and it's just...
It's a crock of shit.
Sunday City, different strokes. It's my three sons of bitches.
I mean, they're good for a little laugh there. And some of the ones at the end, the Golden Ghouls.
The David Dukes of Hazzard. What'd you think of the Star Trek moment near the end?
I mean, I appreciate any Star Trek shout out there. I thought that was one of the shorter ones, and I guess you got to choose which ones you're going to indulge in a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Of course, then the whole bridge started firing on them. That didn't quite make sense, but they said, wait for the attack.
Spike does have control.
Yes.
And it was pretty clever, and you didn't expect to see it at all when Ritter ends up on the Three's Company set. Although, it would have been nice if they had some kind of Mork and Mindy gag.
Yeah, especially considering where she came from. A lot of the shows, again, had an 80s feel to them, and the early 90s had an 80s feel anyway to it.
You can kind of see the 90s starting to come to life, but they haven't fully let go of the 80s yet.
Yeah, the Fresh Prince piece. I was waiting for an MC Hammer reference or something like Vanilla Ice, but...
Well, we did kind of get one. At the end, as Ritter and Spike are channel hopping, they have the big final battle, I guess you could call it, in a Salt and Pepper music video.
Yeah, I thought that was a little bit of a stretch. That was probably one of my least favorite segments, even though I think it was true to form again, but...
So, Salt and Pepper in hell for some reason.
Yeah, and that definitely would be adding some 90s to it.
We did get a Vanilla Ice reference that you didn't seem to notice, but Jeffrey Jones, when he's doing the DJ thing, he looks like a fat Vanilla Ice. John Ritter, I'm not sure what they were having him doing with the hair and the tank top thing.
I'm both frightened and aroused.
In the end, it all kind of resolves itself. The husband and wife get back, and despite there being kind of this not fully developed subplot of them getting the spark back, we never actually see them kiss once in this film.
I don't know if that would do it. I guess if you share that type of experience, but...
And Spike ends up trapped in one of the channels with Eugene Levy, who gets his revenge.
I'll get his parking space.
So, what can I tell you?
Hell,
My
has a
parents got back
parking lot,
together.
apparently.
The only TV my dad...
And then it ends on a weird note where Roy, who was established as being a fencing protege in his youth, teaching fencing lessons to a bunch of kids.
Who on earth taught you that?
I saw it on TV somewhere. Some old movie.
Take my advice, kiddo. Don't watch too much TV. It can get you into trouble.
I'm a little mixed on that ending note. Don't you think it's a little weird that a movie ends on a message of don't watch too much TV in a film that's made for people that watch too much TV?
Yeah.
Television is reality, and reality is less than television.
Just seems a little hypocritical.
But they wanted a nice tidy bow with they had the fencing sword at the beginning and then it reappears at the end. And it was the key to victory in the middle, so.
All ties in.
Sure. Why not?
So yeah, like there's a few problems, not a lot of development in certain areas. Like there could have been one or two more scenes to establish certain characters' motivations. But I do think Stay Tuned is an enjoyable film, especially if you're a movie and television buff.
Yeah, there's plenty of nostalgia to keep it going. I think there was just enough acting talent there to keep the thing afloat. As long as you don't pay attention to the children dialogue too much, and some of the flatter characters, I think it's still watchable.
Yeah, the parodies are pretty solid most of the time. Jeffrey Jones, once again, is a great villain, and just want to say, the western part, where John Ritter plays coughs on the smoke, man with no name, and Jeffrey Jones comes out to duel. I found it really eerie watching this scene, just for how much Jeffrey Jones looks like his character Merrick in Deadwood.
Spot on, yeah.
Yeah, the mustache, the hat, everything.
Doesn't look like he aged at all from that point.
You're gonna hit me with a train?
What can I say? I'm a sucker for a big ending.
A few behind-the-scenes facts. Before Peter Hyams came on, Tim Burton was offered to direct. And I could see that, and maybe he could have added a little more personality to certain parts.
Maybe, yeah, a little more fantasy.
But he was busy doing Batman Returns, so Peter Hyams actually was so captivated by the script that he badgered the producers, executives at Morgan Creek to let him direct the film. Like, he was just really drawn into the story, if there is any. Before John Ritter and Pam Dawber were brought in to play Roy and Helen, the studio wanted Richard Dreyfuss and Tracy Ullman. I
wonder how that would have worked out.
Hard to say, but I think it's better that they got TV actors to play these characters.
Although I think the acting credentials would have been, it probably would have been a little better quality. I can see your point with the TV characters and having it in that world, because I think that did make a difference.
And the film, if you look at it in some parts, almost has, like especially with the family setting at the beginning, kind of has a little bit of a sitcom-y vibe to it. So,
which I think helped and hurt the movie again. It helped establish the theme of the television show, but it hurts it in terms of the way that it was directed. So.
And I don't know if this is true, but apparently, according to IMDb, before they got Jeffrey Jones, an actor considered for the role of Spike was Ronald Reagan.
All right.
That's ridiculous.
This is after he was president.
After he was president. Well, he probably would have had a tough time remembering his lines at that point.
God damn. What the hell somebody gotta do to get a little decent help up in this motherfucker?
The film was not a huge hit with critics or the box office. Stay Tuned had a budget of $25 million. It made $10.7 million.
So that's a financial failure.
Yeah.
Disappointed!
Written by Jim Genowin and Thomas Parker, the writers of Richie Rich, The Flintstones movie, and Getting Even with Dad. Produced by James G. Robinson through his company Morgan Creek, which also put out Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, Young Guns, and The Crush.
Oh, classics.
And the music does a good job of changing to each segment and fitting it appropriately.
I agree. Yeah. It added to the setting. And I like the opening title scene, the music there.
The music was done by Bruce Broughton, whose previous work includes Homeward Bound, The Incredible Journey, Tombstone, and Silverado, for which he received an Oscar nomination.
Okay.
As far as a comedy goes, I think we agree it's a bit up and down in some areas. How do you think it does in the horror department?
I see this more comedy than horror. I mean, it's got a little horror aspect, but there's no jump scenes here. There's nothing terribly gory even. I mean, with a PG rating, I don't think you get away with very much. I don't think it was much of a horror film.
I think it falls into more eerie and chilling in certain areas. Like, not scares you chilling, but just for how dark some of the jokes can go.
Yeah, worthy October film.
It's like a good back-to-back movie with, say, Videodrome, if you want to jump from one really unpleasant and scary film to one that's dark but will make you laugh.
Yeah, you watch it in early October, but you're not watching this one on Halloween.
You recommend it?
Yeah, I think unless you're watching this maybe 10, 15 years from now where the shows may have aged a little bit more, and if more and more people are less familiar with those particular references, I think though still now there's a lot of nostalgia, specifically if you're interested in that 80s, 90s time period.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff in this film became pretty dated pretty fast, but if you can kind of look past that, because so many movies are of their time, I think you can enjoy Stay Tuned. There's some people that really don't like it, some who really love it. I think if you just want a fun little time without anything really complex involved.
Big bowl of popcorn to go with it.
With butter, though.
With butter.
I think you will like Stay Tuned.
Excrement!
Hope everybody's October, despite the limitations, is going well, and great to have you back, man.
Good to be back.
Hope you enjoyed this new from the norm type of format, and I will see you again soon, hopefully.
All right, enjoy.
Charge, Mr. Nate. Sir.